turns out
This
doesn't have a
switch,
baby
okay,
yet,
you
but
can
she
talk about it.
wanted
Yeah.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock, and we'll call the Barron County Board of Supervisors for Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022 into order. And wait for Jess to have roll call.
No pressure. All right, we are starting with Gary Nelson.
Here.
And Roberta called and she will be absent tonight. Pete Olson.
Here.
Kathy Krug.
Here.
Carol Moen. Here. Fran Langman.
Here.
Louis Oki.
Here.
Patty Anderson. Here. Randy Cook.
Here.
Jerry McRoberts.
Here.
Marv Thompson.
Present.
Bud Hansen.
Here.
Stacy Wenzel.
Here.
Dana Heller. Was he virtual?
Here.
Okay.
Here.
Yep, he's virtual. Yep.
All right, Bob Anderson.
Here.
Stan Buchanan.
Here.
Audrey Kuslik.
Here.
Bill Efforts. Craig Turcott.
Here.
Dale Heineke.
Here.
Bob Rogers.
Here.
Diane Vaughn.
Here.
John Banks.
Here.
Terry Lee.
Here.
Carolyn Bartlett. Pam Fall.
Here.
Bill Schradel.
Present.
Gary Taxtall.
Here.
Jim Gores.
Present.
All right, so that means we have 28 present, 1 absent.
And public notification.
I don't get that anymore. I think Wendy gives it to Jeff.
Wendy Coleman, my executive assistant, has complied with Wisconsin open meeting law requirements. Meeting agendas have been posted on electronic meeting notice boards located on the first and second floor of the Government Center, first floor of the Justice Center. A hard copy of the meeting has been posted in the county clerk's office, and she has verified the proper posting of the meeting. This is a Barron County Special County Board meeting for November 3rd at 5 p.m., and this agenda was posted on the 31st of October at 12:52 p.m.
Okay, I don't think we have a pastor here today, and I certainly am not one, but I'm willing to say something for the invocation if everybody would like to stand. Dear God, give us the wisdom and patience to make the correct decisions this evening, and give us the respect of our fellow members, that we treat them fairly and listen to their concerns. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's see, item number 3, special matters and announcements. We had someone speak at public comment at one of our meetings recently, and they asked that in the spirit of transparency, why don't we have all of our committee meetings on YouTube and we could have them in here. We have the facilities, we have the technology. So we're going to be talking about that at the executive level and eventually bringing it to the board and hopefully implementing that January 1st. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that we'll be discussing that, so think about it. So, any other special matters, Jeff?
No.
Okay. Item number 4, approve the agenda. Motion by Supervisor Banks, seconded by Supervisor Heineke. Any concerns? If not, all is in favor of approving the agenda indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign? That motion's carried. Okay, number 5, public comment. And before that, I'll read my little spiel, kind of like I did last time. We understand and regret the highway project overage. We have a great interest rate. Materials were purchased ahead of time to avert supply chain and inflation issues. We have a good highway fund balance to cover that overage. We can handle the overage without borrowing or raising taxes. Hindsight is 20/20. We have a problem, and this board will solve it. Rules for the public comment. Please do not attack Barron County employees, and do not repeat comments already made. If it's been said, just say it. So, thank you. And the first public comment will be Walter Herman. As you come up, it's the podium in the middle now, that black one's directly across from me. Please state your name and address and proceed.
Here.
Thank you.
Accountability. Here we are again. Walter Herman, 1708 12 and 3/4 Street, Barron, Wisconsin, 54812. Good? Okay. Accountability. Here we are again. We the people, we the taxpayers, we will be the ones to pay the overruns. We are the voters that put our trust in to our voted in supervisors, which are counting, we are counting on you now, not just to make a motion to steal the money from the highway department and okay, we did a great job, move on. No, no, no. We expect you to not only sit there and let's just go by as if whatever and go to the next project. That's not doing your job. You're here to protect the taxpayers' money in best interest. Please, some money, make a motion to hire a very qualified CPA auditor to find out the mistakes that have been covered up now for 8 months. Please, I mean, come on, 8 months to come up with overruns and nobody watching the cookie jar, so to speak. There was once a very well-known, respected senator from the past in Wisconsin, Senator William Proxmire. Every month, I looked forward to this. He would give out an award. He named it the Golden Fleece Award, which was an award to someone in Wisconsin, or somewhere in Wisconsin, excuse me, some government taxpayer project that got fleeced out of usually many millions of dollars at the taxpayer's expense. He tried his best to let the taxpayers know when they were fleeced. And I really look forward to every month to see what he had to say because his honest openness, it was amazing, awesome. I think everybody, myself, everybody can be open that way in whatever walk of life, and especially right now with this here. I can't help but think that this Barron County project would be in the running for the Golden Fleece Award if he were alive today. My favorite Wisconsin Senator, William Proxmire. For that reason, accountability. Good day.
Thank you. Second one would be Pierre Hansen.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize what I was signing.
Oh, so you declined to come up for?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Dennis Rochelle.
Good evening, Dennis Rochelle, 1228 18th Street, Barron, Wisconsin, 54812. I was here at the last meeting here, and being I'm in construction, well, at least retired now, I've done a lot of these projects. I see a lot of red in this spreadsheet you have here, and if some stuff was ordered and therefore already on order here, it seems to me there's more red ink here than should be. I don't know where the chain order came from, who authorized the change orders, or the extras. This would be nice to know. As a taxpayer, retired, I'd like to know where my money's going. I'm new to this area, and I came up here to retire, not to sit here and spend more money. There's an accountability here amongst you people. I've done a lot of these things. I've worked on a lot of projects, whether it be at the hospital in Eau Claire or on our family business. I sat on the city council in Chippewa Falls. we never, who was in charge? Who was in charge of all this? Was it your architect? Engineer? Someone on the board? Who is it? No, someone's responsible for this. Your transportation committee board, your building committee. Who is responsible? Too much red ink here. I just don't understand it. You're at 80% completion of this project and you're $4.5 million over budget, yet the materials were already bought, and before that, I can see some change orders and stuff coming in here and adding to the cost of this facility. But you're only 80% complete. What's the total cost of overrun after we get to 100%? I know we can't finish this project up until spring of 2023. But there's a lot of questions that need to be answered here between all of you. And I mean it. There's some legal ramifications that could become here. I'm not kidding you. I've sat on boards. My father was a state senator for 14 years, for Pete's sake. I know what goes on around here. We're not running Washington, D.C. here in Barron. Taxpayer money means something to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are the board member questions, is that public? They've been sent out.
Excuse me?
Board member questions that we sent out to all board
Yeah.
members? Is that public?
Yeah,
Is that-
sure. Public, yeah.
Is it in the packet?
No, well, we shared a public drive that anybody could access. It's a
Okay.
link in the county board right here. It's an active link right here. All I have to do is link on it and they see
Sure.
all their documents.
Okay. Don't usually answer specific public comments, but sometimes they break the rules. I just was asking Jeff, we had, I don't know, 30-some pages. The board members submitted questions. After our last board meeting, I think you remember, I directed the supervisors to contact Jeff French with questions about this project and their concerns and a lot of questions that you just asked, Dennis. And that information is public, Jeff, under if you go on to the Barron County website, link to additional documents for the meeting, is that where it is?
It's in the link. It's on the actual agenda. If you click on it, all the documents are there on public record.
Okay, so for anybody in the public that, that information is there, but thank you. Next up is Patty Green.
I was gonna go
Yeah, right in the
Dana. I was
middle
gonna
there.
Dana, I don't know. I was confused. Sorry, that's where you usually have to stand, right? Yeah. Don't change things on me. I'm not prepared for that. I'm Patty Green, 1229 21st Street in Cameron. I was going to talk about transparency, but obviously you guys do listen to public comment, and you're going to take my suggestion and move ahead with that. But the other thing I'm going to talk about, and I haven't had a chance to really think about even what I want to say on this, but I was at the zoning committee meeting today, and I've come to respect a lot of what you guys have to do and the broad range of things that this board has to cover, and you can't all be knowledgeable on everything, but you have to rely on your subcommittees to give you recommendations that are knowledgeable and that they have done their homework. And when the zoning committee made a decision today, and then afterwards discussed it and found out that they really didn't know the rules or why they made that decision, at this point, it's amazing to me. Do your homework, know your roles, and if you're not qualified to be on a board, then recuse yourself and get on a board that you are qualified for. We deserve better than that as a people. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce Willers.
Good evening. Bruce Willers, 529 North Main Street, Rice Lake, Wisconsin. I come before you tonight because in all the years of attending city council meetings and county board meetings now and township meetings and doing rezoning and plating and all the different functions that go on, I'm a little upset. And the first thing I was upset about is not that nobody was steering the wheel for the Barron County supervisors as an individual or as a committee. I was upset when we did the Main Street Bridge in Rice Lake, and we entrusted the Barron County Highway Department and the board to hire an engineering firm and build a bridge for us that ran $500,000 over, and the bridge was some 100 feet long. And they did the borings. They did all the infrastructure design before the bridge was built. It was bid on. And the city of Rice Lake had to pony up, and the taxpayers another $500,000. And you say you have the taxpayers' money? Well, my question is how much more money do you have in other accounts like this that we don't know about, and maybe even some of the new county supervisors don't know about? Many years of sitting in Rice Lake and Rotarian, the Rotarians have a commitment to this country, and it is the four-way test of the things we think, we say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Tonight, I ask you supervisors, even though you voted for the 29 of you voted yes that were elected at the time when the project was started, please give it the consideration to just because you voted yes once, you don't have to vote yes again. God has a way of teaching us things, and we've all been there. And I hope tonight that you take and think deep and heavy about what this is going to do to the taxpayers in the future. If you have the money in the fund, and in the future we have to replace crushers and other equipment that cost millions of dollars, it is going to have a huge effect on the taxpayers. We may not be around. Most of you in this room probably won't be around in 15 years to replenish that fund. I may not be around. But if we are, I hope that we can stop with the tax increases. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Swenson.
Hello, Jim Swenson, 1127 East LaSalle, Barron, Wisconsin. I need to start talking in front of Bruce. He always steals my thunder. Could you change that order next time?
Get here before him.
You know, I know most people in this room are of good heart. I really do. Some of you I know very well. Some of you not so much. Mr. Mitch's job is to look out for the best interests of the county. The 29 of you are here to look out for the best interests of us, the taxpayer. As Bruce said, think about it. These changeovers came. We haven't seen anything on that. We know that thing happens, okay? So I would hope that we would show that to the public, the who's, the whys, and the wheres prior to voting to take money out of another account. Maybe we're fortunate to have that account this time. Like Bruce said, how many other departments have these overages? Maybe that needs to be shown in this budget before we approve that this month. I'd sure like to know. I've sat in every one of these meetings, executive committee meetings and regular meetings since June. I've yet to hear anything discussed about the who's, whys, and the wheres were over, okay? It started out as $750,000, which made me sort of want to suck some air, okay? And it should have all of you. Now we're talking in excess of 4 million, maybe even more. That's not a good feeling. You know, how do we justify that? I don't even have the words, and if I did, I probably shouldn't say them, okay, in a public forum. But I know we can do better. I've heard rumors of training going on that says these meetings should only be 45 minutes and no questions. No questions. This ought to just click right along. Trust your subcommittees. Well, did we do that this time? Because I tell you, if that's the case, guess we've disproven that theory, okay? It's a lot of work. I don't want to sit in any of your seats and have to review 80 to 100-page documents on a Thursday, or that I receive on a Thursday and have to make a decision on Monday. You guys are the power in the room right here. That's too much information to absorb, okay? Maybe you just need to slow it down a little bit. There's a small handful of people that know what's going on. The rest of us are here to learn and help. I hope we start asking questions even outside this room to experts of these fields. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 6. Before we get to that, I have a few comments there. I understand everyone's upset about the highway project overage. You know, everybody, all these 29 supervisors are taxpayers too. You know, we try to keep our emotions out of our decisions. Let's focus on the end game. Complete the project as originally planned. How do we fund it and what amount? Decide future actions on that people are suggesting at a later time. We were signing contracts, but we had not been told that we were over budget. We had unforeseen costs of $1,510,000. Since we were over budget, there was no room left to cover the Barron County costs of around $2 million. I also felt Supervisor Stradel brought it up right away. Our contingency issue was too low. Ultimately, the project estimate budget was too low. Therefore, our borrowing of $25,120,000 was insufficient to cover all the projects. Jody, are you going to put up that screen? I guess I'm going to go right into my spiel here. And everybody, board members, we will get a chance. Everybody will get a chance to speak twice. And after you've spoken once, give everybody else a chance after that. But I believe every supervisor has a copy of this spreadsheet. I apologize to the public if it's hard for them to see up there. Jody, I'm going to talk primarily the bottom half of that sheet. If we could get where the numbers that CPS squared put together, yes, yeah, and maybe slant it to get the right hand side a little more too. Can you do that? Yeah, I guess that's okay right now. Yep. Okay. Oh, let's get them. No, well, now I got to read in the dark, but I'll make her. Yeah. If you look at this sheet, there's an estimates, the first big column is the CBS squared estimates as of 2/21/21. Those estimates were way too low. You can see right next to that column, it says the original contract, and as you go down, you'll have a total of $23,902,882, which is basically $23,903,000. Then we go down to that box. And CBS squared, their design cost per contract was $894,000. Right below that, their construction manager cost was $1,183,986. So when you add that up, those three numbers, the original contracts, and the original contracts for design and construction management, CBS squared, That totals $25,981,000. The projected budget in the bond was $25,120,000. That difference over on bid day is $861,000. We were not told that. On bid day, we're over $861,000. Where's all the money for unforeseen costs, for contingency, for Barron County's costs? Where is it? Questions were asked, where was some of the items in the project, and the answer, well, it's in there. Well, as we delved, it wasn't in there. So we're over bid day, $861,000. If you go all the way to the right-hand side under SHPO, which is the State Historical Society, snafu of $590,000, all under items to finish, that should have been over in the other column. That's $201,748. The electrical service of $86,000, and the poor soils of $632. That's where you add up those four numbers, you get that $1,410,328. And then finally, Barron County costs, there's no room for them in the budget. Under items to finish, you see county asphalt in bid. County asphalt added after bid. That's $345,000, $703,000. That's $1,048,000 in asphalt that's not in the project. Well, it should have been. It was in the original estimate, but once all the contracts were let the first day, there's no room. Then you add in the things that they have listed there: IT equipment, 198, the Rhine building, the TV monitors, the shop equipment. You're going to come up with almost $2 million there. So when you add that 861 of over bid day, the unforeseen costs of $1,510,000, and the Barron County costs that there was no room in the budget after the contracts were let of almost $2 million, you come up with $4.3 million of costs over the original contracts. Now, there are other items in here, smaller ones. I'm trying to simplify what happened here. And really what happened, the CBS estimate for this project was too low. The actual contracts on bid day were over what the money we had. There's no room for project errors. There's no room for Barron County costs. And we were not told that. So that's my spiel. You guys now have the floor to ask questions. Supervisor Bartlett.
We're just looking to try to follow your numbers.
Okay.
And we're having troubles following doing the numbers you're seeing.
Yep. You want me? Okay. Right in the middle of the page, it's be the second column. It says original contract, and it comes down to a dollar amount of $23,902,882.
Yep.
Does everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's my first number.
Okay.
Then go down into the box, and where we see the second line there, well, actually, you got all three of them there. The construction cost to date, there's that same $23,902,000. The next number, the design cost, CBS squared, $894,000. The next number, construction manager cost, $1,184,000. That's where you total of $25,981,000. And you can see our project budget, as well as the borrowing amount, was $25,120,000. Right away, we're $861,000 over.
Okay.
The unforeseen costs are the last three numbers way on the right. It says SHPO, electrical service, and poor soils. The $590,000, the $86,000, and the $632. If you add that up, that'll add up to $1,308,000, which is a number in that box. But they've really got in the column under items to finish. You see that kind of, I don't know if it's what color that is there, brownish orange, that $201,748. That was due to SHPO too. That was due to the extra labor that had to be done to move the earth. I believe it was under Ericsson's contract.
That should be in the column under SHPO is what you're
Should be
saying.
under the column under SHPO. And if you do that, that's where you add up those three numbers that are typed there, along with that 201,748, you'll come up with $1,510,000. And then the Barron County costs. They're all in that item to finish column, not the 107 and not the 15,000 and not the 201 we just talked about, or the 100 and the 40 below, but there's all those other numbers that basically are IT equipment, audio equipment, appliances, TV monitors, equipment costs. Those were things that were in the estimate of our project when we approved that as a board. But when you're at bid day and you don't have any money left, you know, that's the way I look at it. We're $4.3 million because of the low estimate done by our people that we hired. So, you know, and now it's up to us to decide where we go from here. The biggest thing is we've got these costs. And if we, most of our contractors are local here in Barron County. And they did the work and they did it honestly, and they deserve to be paid. There's no reason to not pay these people for the work that they've done. And I think some of them are a little nervous because of all the banter that's going back and forth right now. But I truly, this is only me talking, but I truly believe that we should be authorizing that 4.6 million so the people that haven't been paid on this project know that they're going to get paid. And I'll tell you, Jody and Jeff did one hell of a job. They spent hours and hours and hours, weekends and nights, putting these numbers together. Well, the number came from CBS Squared, the sheet we're looking at, but they did a lot of verification of this stuff to make sure it was okay. Supervisor Schradel.
Well, I took the time this week to speak to a guy that I've known for more years than I care to admit, because it makes him and I both old. He retired construction guy like this gentleman that come up here and spoke. And I asked him to refer me to somebody that was a construction or project manager, but not in Barron County or any of the surrounding counties. I didn't want, he might have known about some of the questions, but what I asked him, point blank, I said, in all your years of being a project manager, do architects and engineering companies make good project managers? He said, I will speak. Most of the guys I dealt with those two entities were very good. But being a project manager is a whole different animal. And I'm not going to get into all the things he told me, but it made sense to me as a novice here that we probably should have went out and got somebody that was independent, somebody that had a lot of experience, because obviously this is a big job. And there's a lot of moving parts, and because of, you know, ordering the stuff ahead of time, which was a good idea, but he pointed out one thing. He said, maybe things that you got laying on the ground right now, whether the wood, steel, composite materials, because of the weather, and you're not going to use them maybe till next winter or next spring, you might have some additional costs, and the labor contracts came due, and these contractors had to give these employees a raise. So, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns here yet. And but I do agree we have to complete this project somehow, because I'm sure that Mr. Minch could allude to this. We've got contracts to plow highways, make sure the bridges are safe, and just a myriad of things. So I think that CBS Square has quite a bit of culpability here, in my opinion. Thank you.
Yes, well, and one of the things that was asked in public comment, why the fund balance in the highway department. When Mr. Servey took over leadership of that department, it was a negative balance. And as you know, it snows a lot around here, and we try to keep the budget reasonable. If it snows over what we budgeted, the fund balance has got to cover that. If we have a natural disaster like happened up in Ashland County in floods and bridges and that come out, you know, you need some balance. We have tornadoes. There's different things that fund balance is used for that, you know, this is not one you ever want to use it for, but, you know, I guess thank God it was there. And hopefully we can build it back slowly. And anyway, Supervisor Vaughn.
Do we have a cap on that fund balance? $11 million seems like a lot of taxpayer money to be sitting on.
I don't know that answer. I don't think so.
But a lot of that is, most of that.
No, not the 11 million. That's unrestricted.
Right, that's cash, but that also, you got to look at, they also pay for their purchase of their equipment out of that cash fund. We don't tax the taxpayers for the equipment that they purchase. That's purchased from what they do for state work and PBA work that they get paid. So yeah, it looks like a lot of money, but it can fluctuate several $1 million easily as they go out and buy fixed assets.
Or if the state decides not to give us the work that we did, or recession hits in our townships who we help out quite a bit, they may have to pull in their reins, and therefore that money won't be there for us for the highway department either.
State of Wisconsin used to pay us 4 or 6 times a year for the work done by the highway department. I think they're down to 3 or 1 time a year. So we have to sit on a lot of fund balance because the state of Wisconsin does not pay us like they did 20 years ago.
And the other thing, when we are doing work for, let's say, the municipalities, we typically don't bill them sometimes all until the end, or it takes, a few months for them to turn around and pay us back. So we need to have that fund balance to be able to pay our bills, which then we will, ask for reimbursement when those projects are completed.
May I follow up, Mr. Chairman? Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of the townships, we'll do work for townships in our fiscal year, and they won't pay us till the next fiscal year, till May, 5 months later, because they're waiting to get their state aid payments. So that's the reason. I agree, it's a lot of money, but there's a really good reason, because I've been here a long time, and I can tell you when we sat in this room and we didn't have any money in the fund, in the highway fund, and we were taking money out of the general fund to pay the bills and buy the equipment, and that's not fun either.
And these two to my left, Jeff and Jody, know that they a lot more than I do, but I know on Health and Human Services, I believe we have a fund balance of $750,000. Again, that we're subject to the state mandates. They pay us slower. That money is needed there. I don't know. Waste Energy is really a business, but I don't know if other fund balances, if we have fund balances anywhere else, do we?
No, we don't. And that's a great point on the Health and Human Services Department. The state of Wisconsin used to pay us 13 times in the Health and Human Services Department. Now they're down to 4. They used to actually advance us money, and now they're waiting 4 and 6 months to pay us. So that's why we have to have fund balance in the general fund as high as we do, because we're paying bills for the state of Wisconsin for up to 3 to 4 months.
Supervisor Bob Anderson.
These items to finish, it's a 2.4 million sitting there. Now that the project's going to continue on further and not be completed until next spring, are we going to see contract labor negotiations also taking this price up as far as what?
From what I've been told, most of those happen around June 1st, so we're trying to get everything done. But some contract increases have already affected this because of the SHPO, the State Historical Society stuff. But another D-Day or date would be June 1st of next year. So we're gearing as hard as we can, I know, to finish by then.
Do we have any way of locking and not allowing any increases on that?
Mark, or do you know that answer? So Mark, maybe for the public that couldn't hear Mark's answer, he's basically saying that there's nothing in the contract that they are allowed for these increases, and that has affected some of us now. We're trying to be finished so that that doesn't happen further down the line. A lot of like Mark just said, a lot of the costs that are really Barron County's things to finish up, because I think a lot of these contracts, we've been meeting with CBS Squared, and Jody and Jeff have got a handle on the cash. We know where we're at, and I'm assuming that most of the contracts will be taken care of by early next spring. And then most of the stuff to finish is going to be Barron County stuff. And like Mark said, most of it's paving because we you know, it's winter's coming and we're paving some to protect the buildings that are there now so we can drive the equipment into those buildings with not dragging them over mud and everything else, so. Let's see, is there anybody else before Supervisor Vaughn? That's another question. Supervisor Cook.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time understanding on bid day, you over 1.6 million and didn't know it.
861 was the number.
861 and didn't know it, and didn't know that we didn't include our part. How do I approve a contract without seeing numbers? You were over budget the day you took it and didn't know it?
That is a job of CBS Squared. They are a contract manager. That's what their job is to do, is to oversee that project. That's what the board authorized them to do. That's what we signed up for. Yes.
So you're telling me that Mark didn't see the bids, the highway committee didn't see the bids, the steering committee didn't see the bids. The only people who saw the bids,
The original contracts you're talking about?
yes,
Yeah.
is CBS Squared.
I don't know that answer. Mark, do you know? Mark, can you want to come up to the podium maybe? Here comes a mic, too, but you might as well go to the podium and the public that's online can see too.
The bids were opened in 3 separate packages, and I believe there was 3 separate times that that CBS Squared came to the board with those contracts for approval.
And no one had a calculator. I mean, I don't know how, if I go to buy a car and they quote me a price of 25 or 40,000 and I get there and the price tag is something different, I'm going to know that. Or if they took options off the car that I paid for. I'm having a hard time.
I understand.
I see that.
13 and 14 also corroborate that.
Can't hear you. Turn your mic on.
Question 50, 13, and 14 answer that question.
Can you summarize it a little bit, Jeff?
On bid day, the committee members were in the room. Mr. Servy and I were in the room, and we asked right away, we're over. What are you going to do about this? We were told that the sales tax credits would get us back under budget. On the bid days, because the committee members were here, and they asked, and we asked that question. We're over. Why? How are we going to cover this? They said, we will engineer this, and we will get sales tax credits to cover it.
So right now you're at 4.3 million. You're asking us to agree to do that right now because it's needed. We can't move in without that work being done. And some of that work's not done yet. Therefore, no one needs to be paid for it if it's not done. But are you telling me that 4.3 is a hard cap? Or are you going to come back and ask for more money?
I can give you a hard cap. No, you've got letters that were sent to you via email. Haas Concrete, the prices are going up there. The prices for asphalt, everything's going up. The more we delay, the more it's going to cost us. And what now we're doing is we're looking at 4.6 million to complete the project. Hopefully that will do it. But we need to alleviate the fears of our contractors that they will not be paid. We need to button up that building. We need to do our highway work for the citizens of this county. Now, I'm at the end of this thing, I'm going to ask, I think it's item number 8B for a financial management group that we made up. I'm going to ask, I'm going to ask that Pete Olson, Jody, Mark Servy, Louis Oakey, Jeff French, Stan Buchanan, the 6 of them sit down, maybe weekly and go, no money's going to be dispersed. They're doing that right now, but nobody's going to be dispersed money without looking at it very carefully. I don't know, we're at the point, yeah, are we in a bad spot? Yes. But we've got to get that building done, and with it this far along, that's the only way I personally can see to get this thing done and handle. And the quicker we do it, the less it's going to cost us. Supervisor Olson.
So I'm reserving my right to speak later, but I'm really trying to respond to this specific question or issue in an effort to clarify it. What I recall, and I'm looking at staff and other members of the committee and the county board, was that
For people that don't know, Pete Olson is the head of the Highway Facility Steering Committee.
So at the steering committee meetings, when the bids were open, that we were told, this is the estimate, this is the bid, we're over by this, but we're going to get credits. That's going to refund all that money. That's the same thing that was told to the county board. The problem is all they were dealing with were those one or two contracts that they had just let and opened. They weren't looking at everything else, and that's the problem.
And you can see there is credits of $652,000 that we do have so far, but that wouldn't even cover that. So, yeah. Supervisor Moen.
I was just wondering, does Barron County have any grounds for legal recourse against CVS Squared?
That's an issue we were going to talk about later. We want to get this project finished, and then that discussion will be had. Supervisor Turcott.
Question back towards Jeff a little bit. Can you explain how this fund, you elaborated a little bit, gets replenished, that they buy their equipment? Now, do they make a little bit of money when they lay asphalt down for the townships and stuff? So you'll start building it back, and explain to them that's how the account got built up in the.
Correct. I answered that question. I was 11 or 12, but the highway fund, when Mark took over, was a negative fund. They were actually taking money out of the general fund to buy equipment and make it operate. When Mark got here, Mark was no more warm in his seat, and we got hit with the frac sand thing. And the county board at that time, we used to hold the highway committee, the highway fund to $900,000. And it was determined that the price of increases of equipment that we were going to let this rise, and also with the idea that frac sand may cause damage to roads, they wanted to have enough money. So that's how it built up. You are correct, Craig. When they do work for townships and other municipalities, they charge a labor rate for the man, they charge a rate for the equipment. That comes up with the total cost, and then sometimes Mark can add a 5% admin cost, or sometimes he doesn't. We don't give out bids, we give out quotes. That's how this fund has been able to go from a negative amount in the last, I know, Mark, you've been here 20 years or something, that's how we've got to this point. So yes, if we take the money out over time, it would be that we would build it up and go from that.
And obviously, the townships thinks it's a good deal because there are private contractors out there that could do that work.
We have some ARPA money available too. I mean, it looks like, I talked to Steve Olson today, looks like if we go forward based on just, the whole Picasso thing, if we put the aging kitchen over here, we're looking at somewhere between $800,000 and more money than fixing up Ann Street School. And I've always said, Mark, put the D8 Cat, I'll drive it for a little while, and we'll have Ann Street School taken care of. But, I mean, so we could have some ARPA money to replenish this. I'm not making a guarantee it could happen. I'm saying it's possible. The ARPA money's freed up. We could look at that. So there are some ways to get the money back.
And being board chair, I'm on a lot of organizations, committees that include other county board chairs. And I can tell you, the Barron County departments work together. Not a lot of counties, they don't. And our highway department helps out the waste energy. They help out a lot of different departments. Supervisor Taxtell.
Yeah, we can look at these numbers, look at them harder all night, and they aren't going to change much. I was kind of surprised at the bid process. Usually the committee has a sheet that they fill in the amounts on the contracts that are bid out, and they have their own, they fill out their own numbers. But beside that, there was, beside the discovery things of the poor soil, the historical society that we couldn't, that were unforeseen, the things that were omitted that are included now, the total of the project would have been $29 million, I would guess. And back when we,
29 million, yes.
yeah, back when we approved this project, if it came in at 29 million, we would have approved 29 million. So I guess we need to move on and forget, not totally forget what happened in the past. We need to resolve those differences, but those differences have to be resolved after we approve getting this project done. And we can talk about this all night, about the numbers and who's to blame and all that. It doesn't solve the problem. The problem needs to be solved after we approve finishing this project. And if it would have been 28 million, 29 million when we started this, we would have approved that without blinking an eye. So let's just get this done.
Supervisor Guslick?
The CBS Squared contract, it was an advisor contract. Mr. Minch, could you explain to us what CBS Squared was legally responsible for and what Barron County was responsible for as the owner?
In a nutshell, probably not. In a nutshell, probably not. You know, we're looking at a 30-page contract. There's different sections that talk about different requirements. There's different obligations under there. It talks about as simple as I can describe it, is it talks about the cost of work, and that's a defined amount. It is the 25.2 million. And so when you look at the cost of work, what's that specifically defined as? Cost of work shall be the total cost to the owner to construct all elements of the project designed or specified by the architect, and shall include the contractor's general conditions, cost, overhead, and profit. Cost of work will also include any reasonable value of labor, materials, equipment, donated or otherwise furnished by the owner. The cost of work includes the compensation of the construction manager and the construction manager's consultants during the construction phase only. The contract does go on to include their entire fee in the construction part, so the 1.1 million. The cost of work does not include compensation of the architect, that's that 800,000. Cost of the land, rights of way, financing, or contingencies for changes in the work, or other costs that are the responsibility of the owner. Where the failing came about is that the other costs that are the responsibility of the owner were never defined. I think that you all remember CBS Squared's representative standing in front of you in July and telling you when you thought this project was just a little over $1 million over because of the unforeseen cost, that he specifically said, you have to remember, we're not talking construction cost. 26 or 25.2 is the total project cost. That's not the construction cost. The construction cost will be something like 23 million. So this entire board heard that from him in July, at the July meeting. So I think it was a shock to everybody when all these other costs that said county responsibility that are in red, I think that the belief was that those were all part of the project cost. But again, the contract doesn't define what those specific breakouts are. There are some areas that are further defined. They're on one of the attachments to the contract. Talks about who will share certain parts of it, whether it be furniture, furnishings, those types of things.
So I have gone through and watched most of your old YouTube videos. And at the April 20th, 2021 meeting, there was an update by CBS Squared. It was when the third bid package was opened for $685,000 and accepted by this board. Zach, who was presenting that night, made the comment after that the county projects were bid separately, and the county had plenty of money for that, and it wasn't part of his $25.2 million. But no one raised a question at that time. That was back in 2021.
Second time then, Randy?
Second time.
All right.
Just a point of clarification, that fund, if you remember last month, we put 900,000 contingency in the highway fund. Before,
No, we did not.
what did we do with that 900,000?
That 900,000 is a restriction of the general fund. That's part of the budget. We do that routinely, that those are called STP projects. It's the 20% share of future road projects that we take as part of the general fund balance. General fund balance, we try to keep 25 to 33% of expenditures. When it's over that, over the 33%, we then allocate it to specific areas. One of the specific areas was 900,000 STP funds for future projects. That has been very beneficial in the past, because when the state or the feds look at our balance sheet and our stuff, they know that we've got the 20% allocated.
So you're saying that's 900,000 is not part of the 11 million?
Right.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And those STP projects, that money is just, it's assigned or committed in the general fund. It only, at the end of each year, when we see what the actual expenses were for STP projects, I do a one-time transfer for just the amount that was spent.
Thank
So
you.
it's completely separate.
I guess my point is, you can't give me a hard cap on 4.6, 4.8 million. I don't know how I, as a supervisor representing taxpayers, can say yes to that until we have a hard cap. And I think it's up to you, whoever, to negotiate a hard cap and bring that to us. So I know exactly what I'm voting on. Otherwise, I have to vote no tonight.
You've been given so much information, it's unbelievable. And to say that, anyway, we've explained to you why we cannot come up with a hard cap. Now, first of all, they're not going to do it. Second of all, we can't figure it. We don't know what concrete's going to be. We don't know what asphalt's going to be. To go and, you're giving it to responsible people in this county to take a look at this and make sure we finish this project as cheaply and as quality as we can.
Louis, with
To
all
sit
due
there and not say you're not going to vote, that's your business, but it's not responsible. Who's Supervisor Vaughn?
As I was looking over these replies to questions, number 42 and number 56, they seem to imply a planned overage of things that weren't included in the amount. And as you read through the actual contract, it even says, it is recognized that neither the construction manager nor the owner has control over the cost of labor, materials, or equipment, the contractor's methods of determining bid prices, or competitive marking. Accordingly, the construction manager cannot and does not warrant or represent that bids or negotiated prices will not vary from the budget or the cost of work or any estimate for cost of work. That sounds like we're setting ourselves up to go over budget.
Again, hindsight's 20/20. I can't dispute all that. We're at, here's where we are now, like Supervisor Taxtall just said. Supervisor Gores.
Yeah, I am on the committee, and I'm on the highway committee, and I'm also on the building committee. And anyhow, I haven't missed any of them, and I have been to all the bid openings and stuff like that. And anyhow, all the questions, the committee and myself asked extensively about a lot of questions at all these bid openings and even at the meetings there where these guys where the contractors were appeased to what we were going to be looking for, what they were going to be bidding on and stuff like that. And anyhow, we had, as a committee there, we had never ever been told that we were going to be in any problems with the budget and stuff like that, as far as was going on with this project, at least up and not until when we started to get into the very end of this whole situation. Are we probably responsible for a lot of these charges? Probably. The problem is that we just plain flat out weren't appeased or told us that they were going to be that high and stuff like that. And there was a couple of things that didn't show up. Also, I think that this SHPO thing there, as far as I'm concerned, there really put a monkey wrench in this whole construction project right from the get-go. And it just seemed like it just snowballed from there. And so anyhow, I think that first off, I think that we should be looking at getting the project done, finishing it, so that we know where we're at, where with these costs and stuff like that. Get it done. Once it's done, then we know what the project's costs, and go from there.
Supervisor Hanson.
I don't think too many of us have built a project like this. And maybe a lot of us, other than building a house, that might have been our biggest project. But overages and surprises are part of building things. And as Jim just said, the SHPO deal, we got a dollar price on it, but that did a lot more than that dollar price. And I think we need to understand that was a big factor in where we ended up. And the building needs to be finished. And it would be nice if we could say, oh, we're not going to pay it, and we're going to not have doors on it, and we're not going to use it, but it has to get finished. And it just doesn't make sense to not finish it. And if it goes over a little bit, we will find a way to take care of it. And to me, common sense says we got to finish it and get on down the road.
Supervisor Lee.
Yeah, this thing stinks all the way to high heaven, but we had no choice but to finish this now. We can't have an albatross sitting there empty. I mean, that's just stupid. So we got to finish it. And then we start doing recourse, and we better do a lot of recourse because there's some gross negligence on CBS squared. And if we don't, nobody here, and I don't care if we win or lose, but we better pursue that or nobody here deserves to be reelected.
Supervisor Schradel.
Well, the other thing is that it looks like a lot of these items in red are change orders. Well, okay, if there's a change order, the way I understood it from the fellow I talked to, if I'm the one,
Bill, if the change orders are $427,000.
yeah, right, okay, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So basically, if the contractor sees something that he feels is wrong, it'd be better to do it one way or another. He talks to which in this case, the project manager, CBS Square. Then they come back to the owner, which is the committee, Mark, Jeff, you, Louis, whatever. And then you make the decision how much you want to spend on that change order, or if you want to spend it all, what they recommend, or nothing, or somewhere in between. You know, they failed miserably to do that. They just either went ahead and did it or felt it needed to be done, and nobody here knew anything about it, right, Pete?
I don't think that's the case. Mark, can you answer that?
Just in a general sense, the change orders, when those change orders were proposed, we did review those change orders. I don't know all of the details of every change order that's been written, because there's multiple change orders in each one of those dollar figures.
In each specific one.
Yeah, so if you, like the first one, $33,000, there's more than one, that's more than one change order, that's multiple change orders. And the same thing with the credits. Some of the credits are to do with the sales tax, and some of the credits are to do with changes that were proposed that made things easier. So it's kind of a balance. You looked at, you look at the 427,000 of change orders and the 652,000 of credits.
Does that answer it, Bill? Mr.
Well,
Supervisor Strela?
Well, yeah. I know, but
Mark
it's-
was involved with it, I know that.
And maybe to you also, Mark, somewhat murky in some of this stuff, I don't know, only you can answer that, but, yeah.
We did discuss each individual change order with CBS Squared.
Okay.
Supervisor Rogers.
This may be something that should be addressed further down the road, but is it the current position of CBS Squared not our fault, not our problem?
They would not say it's not their problem. I don't know how much they would say they may be at fault, though. Those are issues I really would, and vice versa, corporate counsel would like to avoid and talk about down the road. Supervisor Bob Anderson.
I guess I feel if we don't pay the current contractors what we owe them, that's going to open the county up to exposure. As far as not paying them, they could take action against us. We're going to have to finish it, open the doors. When this was brought to us, it was brought to us as a turnkey project, but that's in the past. Now we're dealing with this. We're going to have to finish it, put the doors on it, get to where we're using it and so forth. But at that point, it wouldn't even I wouldn't believe that it's not beyond us that we shouldn't even get a forensic auditor to go back through and figure out exactly what happened, even at that cost, to try and figure out who is liable and how we can somehow recoup some of this, whether it's performance bid bonds, construction bonds. It's a bonded project. Whatever we're going to have to do, we have to try and recoup what we can. That's going to cost us some money, but I agree with Terry Lee. It's something that we're going to have to do.
Supervisor Gores.
I'm okay with maybe looking at those kind of situations there and stuff like that there. However, right now, I think the business at hand is to get the project done. I don't think that we should be sitting there talking about, at least tonight at this meeting, the legal ramifications and stuff like that. There, we have to work at getting the project done, and then go back and find out really what happened. And if that's what it means to be unaudited, then then so be it. But right now, I think the business at hand is to decide to get this job over and done with. I think Gary Taxdalter hit it right on the head.
Louis,
Supervisor Everts.
I agree that I think the contractor should be paid, but Mr. Cook has a good point. Is it an open checkbook after that?
You, as a board, what we plan on doing is, I know Jeff and Jody are looking at I think they supplied the cash balances to you, and I believe we run out of cash sometime in December. So I've got a feeling we're going to have a December meeting, because these things are going to be brought back to the board to approve, and well, not. Hold on. Yes, all I can say is that we're going to try to do the best we can to minimize the damage, but can I give you a hard number tonight? No, I can't.
Our accounts payable today is 2.5 million.
Bill, you're only supposed to talk twice. Go. With the meetings that I've, since July, when we had this overage, I've sat in all the highway facility steering committee meetings. We also have a group that meets with the CBS Squared directly. I believe everything that they've been doing since that time is in the best interest of the project. The discussion has been had, but now you have, if you dismiss somebody, you got a lot of items that are halfway, you don't know where they are, you got punch list items. There's more problems there than it comes to right to the head right away. You got a comment or you got a question?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I want to be very clear. I believe we do need to finish this project. We need to finish the project and people need to be paid. My only concern is, you're asking me to say yes to buy something and I don't know the final price. And that I
We're asking you for 4.6 right now.
But you don't know if that's the final
I do
price.
not. Any further comments or discussion? Supervisor Thompson?
I think as far as finishing the project, Zach and Chris have been doing a wonderful job keeping things on track. They were hired to do a job to get the building up, and I think they've done a fabulous job of keeping track of who does what, when it is done, and keeping things on schedule. And
Now you said Zach and Chris, you meant Zach and Chad?
Chad, yeah, Zach and Chad, yes. I think they've been doing a wonderful job, and at this point in time, I sure wouldn't want to switch horses in the middle of the stream. I think we'd be asking for problems. So that's all.
Okay, Bob, hopefully it's just a comment. Again, it's the third time.
Yeah, I know. Change orders are going to happen until this is done. That's just part of life. I'm just curious, is there a way, because obviously we're all very tuned into this now, is it possible that when change orders happen, can something at least be emailed out to all of the supervisors so we have a little bit of a heads up of what those change orders are going to be before we get to a next, so we can plan a little bit?
I would think we could definitely, yeah, well, change orders is up to Mark. I doubt there's going to be much for change orders. I think a bigger picture is if we see something that's amiss from what we're talking about here, I surely hope 4.6, other than cement and asphalt, maybe the 4.6 can cover it. If there's anything like that the cash is off, that we see something unforeseen, I think memos should go out to the supervisors immediately. Supervisor Goossling.
You keep asking for 4.6 million from us tonight, but there's $1 million in paving that isn't going to be done till June. There's concrete that's not going to be done till spring. Why can't we settle on a smaller number so that once the doors get on and the buildings get done, maybe it's 3 million or whatever the number is, we do that and then we come back in December and January and ask for more so that we all know what the project is before we have to vote on a large number tonight.
Well, you're looking at a sheet that shows 4.3 million on it. We're not going to go out and spend it foolishly. You're talking about Jody and that. If we won't spend it at all, it'll just be retained in the highway fund balance. We won't be transferring it.
But I won't have a say.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
But if we wait to get those bids until the beginning of next year, couldn't the costs go up a lot?
Yes.
My last question.
Okay.
Is there any way we can put a cap on this? Like 4.75 and don't go over it?
Okay, well, yeah, actually it's at 4.6.
Oh.
If we go over that, we're going to have to certainly come to you. Supervisor Anderson had made a good comment. I would hopefully you'd be alerted immediately at any time that we think that this thing is going to exceed that 4.3 or 4.6.
But then what happens, just because we're alerted, then what do we do? Then we raise more money, right?
Well, if it's more than 4.6, yes.
Does the cost of the bids matter if it's written into the contract that they can change that? And we have already been told in at least 4 different meetings that our costs were locked in and they weren't.
I mean, I think Mark, are we 90% finished? There aren't going to be any major contracts coming here, are there?
The major contract work is finishing up. The biggest area now for contractors is going to be the unheated 2 building. That's where the steel erection starts. The steel is already on site. So now it's the labor to erect that steel, and then the labor and equipment and material to pour the floor in that building. The rest of it, there's some grading left. I'd say the main building is probably 85% done, and I'm the mechanics area and the office area is further along than that, but as you saw on the tour, the unheated storage, that still has to have the doors put on, it still has to be painted, they got to hang the radiant heat. But a lot of the HVAC stuff and everything, that the costlier stuff is done in those buildings, so.
We got an email about cement costs. I thought everything was already purchased.
Well, that goes, well, you don't purchase concrete ahead of time. You purchase concrete. So they had the contractor had a contract for cement or for concrete. But again, that goes back to the provision that's in the contract. When the market changes and there's delays beyond, the contractor bid it based on a schedule that was provided by the CM in the contract documents for bid, which set approximately the 1st of June of 2022 as a completion date. So when SHPO delayed things, that pushed things beyond that 1st of June, and that's where you opened yourself up for additional pricing or for price increases. Everything was locked in for the work that was done to that 1st of June, as far as material prices and labor prices. All of that stuff came after the 1st of June. And the cement, it's specifically for the cement, the concrete stuff. Right now there's a national shortage of cement powder. We actually had a discussion last week with the Secretary of Transportation in Hayward, and he was talking about how the DOT is having to hold things back and mitigate things and add project costs because of the cement increases. And it's just because there's so much going on, and they don't ramp up the cement production. So that's not something that you're seeing from one vendor to one contractor. That's a regional and a national issue.
Any further questions or discussions by the supervisor on item number 6? Supervisor Turcott.
Just in regards a little bit to the contract, on the point of contact for the county, only Mark Survey's name is on there. I mean, this guy manages the biggest budget in the county. It would have been, or maybe it's just for future to have another name with that, 2 sets of eyes, 2 sets of ears. I mean, there's so many moving parts to this. To put that on his lap, I think he did a great job, but I just think it would help, future projects to have. I know the construction managers don't like a ton of names on there because it bogs things down, but it just seems that it may be somebody else, maybe it's the chair of the highway committee or something is on there as well, just so you keep poking and prodding for, all right, we need this information or something. It's just a suggestion, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comments?
I lied, I have one more question.
Okay.
So there's a choice of 2 motions tonight?
Well, yes.
So are they both going to be that same cost?
No. The memo that, did you get the email from Jeff, 10:29 this morning?
Yep.
There's 2 specific motions there, and one has a 4.6 million, The other has $4,350,164.30, and that's, the difference is not finishing that H2 building.
Yeah, and that will go up.
Yeah, you're leaving it unheated. You know, they're trying to get the steel up now to try to get the heated in there so they can lay the concrete so it cures correctly rather than trying to put blankets on it and, you know, over the winter time. So I'm getting past my pay grade here, so don't ask me too much more on that.
Thank you, Louis.
Supervisor McRoberts.
Are there bonding companies involved in this? Can we dip into their?
Yes, they are. There's a bond, yeah, airs and emissions bond, $2 million.
We can go after that, or?
That's, again, that's later discussion.
Oh, okay, all right.
Any further comments or questions? Okay, if not, we'll go on to item number 7, the decision to complete the new highway facility project. Supervisor Olson.
I would move the motion to restrict $4.6 million of unassigned fund balance in Barron County Highway internal.
Do you have your mic on, Pete?
Sorry about that. Well, I move that we restrict $4.6 million of unassigned fund balance in the Barron County Highway Internal Service Fund for the purpose of paying capital improvement, capital outlay expenditures in connection with the new highway facilities building project, as specified in Resolution 2020-32 and 2020-33, both dated December 3rd, 2020.
So that motion is covering 7A and 7B, right, Jeff? Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay, Supervisor Hanson, second. Is there any further discussion? I believe this is the 2/3. Is it, John? Any further discussion? Okay, then it'll be a 2/3 roll call vote. A yes means that you're authorizing $4.6 million to be basically of the unassigned fund balance in the highway to cover the future outlays. And then the next item on the number 8 will be the oversight of that. But so let's roll call vote.
All right, we're actually starting with Roberta Mosentine, who is absent. So our first one is
no.
All right, so then we're going to start with Pete Olson,
Yes.
Kathy Krug,
Yes.
Carol Moen,
Yes.
Fran Langman,
Yes.
Louis Oki,
Yes.
Patty Anderson,
Yes.
Randy Cook,
No.
Jerry McRoberts,
Yes.
Marv Thompson,
Yes.
Bun Hansen,
Yes.
Stacy Wenzel,
Yes.
Dana Heller,
Yes.
Bob Anderson,
Yes.
Stan Buchanan,
Yes.
Audrey Kuslik,
No.
Bill Efforts,
No.
Craig Turcott,
Yes.
Dale Heinecke,
Yes.
Bob Rogers,
Yes.
Diane Vaughn,
Yes.
John Banks,
Yes.
Terry Lee,
Yes.
Carolyn Bartlett,
Yes.
Pam Fall,
Yes.
Bill Schradel,
Very reluctantly, yes.
Gary Taxtall,
Yes.
Jim Gores,
Yes.
Gary Nelson.
Yes.
And that ends with 25 yes, 3 no, and 1 absent.
That's 25 yes and 4 no, then the absent. Thank you. That motion carries. Okay, item number 8, oversight of the new highway facility project moving forward. The project management, I'm proposing that we keep our highway facility steering committee basically handling the scheduling, the oversight of everything except for the money. And so for B, I'm proposing a new committee that would be Pete Olson, who's the head of the Highway Facilities Committee, Stan Buchanan, who's has a lot of extensive knowledge and experience in this field. Of course, Jody, our financial manager, Mark Serby, our highway commissioner, Louis Oki, the board county chair, and Jeff, our county administrator. Is that, do you concur with that, Jeff? Am I allowed to appoint that? Okay, so it's somebody, if somebody agrees with the 6 I just named to appoint, then we'll have a motion, a second, and a vote on that. Motion by Supervisor Taxtell.
Yes, I make that motion.
Okay, second by Supervisor Nelson. Okay, I guess all those in favor of those 6 people being on the Financial Management Committee, Jim, you got a question?
I got a question. So in plain, so what you're saying then, that the facility committee now is defunct?
No, you're gonna do everything you were doing before, except handle the money.
Oh.
You know, like the meeting yesterday where we didn't talk about the money part of it. So you'd still be meeting with CBS Squared, handling, you know, the scheduling and everything else that you did before. So that'd still be there. Okay, Supervisor Vaughn.
Are these all different people than are on that steering committee?
Other than Pete, yes. Any further questions? Supervisor Taxtell.
Can we trust you?
I hope so. I'd say yes, he can. Yeah. All right, all those in favor of those 6 people being on that Financial Management Oversight Committee indicate by saying aye. 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 No, raise your hand, say no. You're against it. Okay, it looks like there's nobody against. Thank you, everybody. 9, report from the county administrator. We don't have anything. We got a board meeting next Monday, the 7th. We'll have a lot of stuff then. 10 appointments, Jeff? None, okay. 11 claims, petitions, correspondence, none by John. Suggestions for future items, well, hopefully we don't have a meeting like this again. Hopefully we can handle it in part of our regular board meetings.
Are you going to talk about the 2 dates you've reserved for December to talk about this issue again? Did you reserve the 12th and the 19th?
Okay, I reserved this auditorium for December 12th or the 19th, but I was thinking we'd have a regular board meeting. Primarily this would be the main topic, but there may be some zoning, there may be some other things. So I would call it a regular board meeting, because a lot of times in December, we don't meet unless there's something pressing. So I think, given the situation here, we should meet in December. If I had a choice, I'd go December 12th. The 19th's getting a little close to Christmas, and I know we got grandkids and all kinds of things going on. So if somebody wanted to make a motion that maybe.
We should talk about that on the 7th. I'd like to see us meet on the 12th in the morning as well and go over where we're at and schedule out the cash. So the county board needs to know where we've scheduled out the cash,
right,
how the cash is going to lay out, because right now, yeah, we have the money, but we shouldn't be taking the money out of the highway fund until we've expended every one of the bond money and the accrued interest. Then we go into that, and we should be scheduling that out for the board to see in December and January both.
That's your job.
Okay, well, we need to make that somebody needs to make that a motion on the 7th, and then as a separate meeting on a date and time and get that locked in.
Okay, so think about it before Monday, think about whether you want the 12th or the 19th, and I think it's a foregone conclusion we need to meet. So, okay, anything else? I don't know what time, what's the exact time? Okay, it's by unanimous consent, we'll adjourn at 6:28 unless somebody has an issue. Can't, all right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
What time is the meeting?